whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Thank you for joining the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube every single day, starting at noon Pacific time, of course. Fix that microphone right there. Go Niners, baby. We will be touching a little bit on some reaction to us winning the NFC West. Yeah, it feels good. It was really good. I'll tell you some stories about watching the game yesterday. I love all of you already in the chat room. I do want to start off with a big thank you to Steve Moskowitz, our exclusive founding sponsor. Because of him, we get consistent money to keep this show rocking and rolling. All right, so coming up, we'll touch on the 49ers' big win. We have to touch on Elon Musk. I was just with Kim McAllister on Mark Thompson's show, and yeah, it appears, at least at this point, and it could change while I'm talking, that Elon Musk has killed Spaces, Twitter Spaces, which you guys, some of you will remember, we used when Station X went and flipped formats. We were able to talk with people, and it's a really cool feature on Twitter. Well, Elon Musk didn't particularly care for it very much. And so, yeah, he apparently it's not working right now. So we don't know what happened. It might come back. It might not. We'll also get some reaction from Donnie O'Sullivan with CNN. He is talking about being suspended off of Twitter. And the big question really is, can Twitter survive without journalists, without news? If he continues down this road, what's going to be left? Now, there are some Twitter threads that I'm on that's like all comedy or mom and parenting stuff, all different types, because Twitter is who you follow. But news is Twitter's bread and butter. So we'll get into that. I have to play you the speech that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gave after a bill has been passed that will allow Puerto Ricans to vote on statehood. This is huge. This is different than any other referendum, kind of those non-binding things. Some people say it's not enough. Some people say Puerto Rico should not want to become a state. There are pros and cons, but I would be remiss as someone with, my mother is Puerto Rican, my grandmother. I'm also half Italian. And so this is huge news. Some other stories coming up. I'm hoping we can get this one Cal Matters reporter on to talk about this crazy story of this mentally disabled man. He's in his 20s, mentally disabled. He spent 9 years in jail and was never tried. I mean, he just got bounced around, and he met with judges and specialists and therapists and everybody, and never was charged and never figured out what happens. And this highlights the problems within the court system. And so hopefully we'll get the reporter on. If not, I hope to get her on next week. We will touch on the 4-day school week, and I'm going to include in this segment, what would you do? Some interesting kind of questions for you to decide. One has to do with a childhood bully reaching out to a CNN journalist. Another has to do with a 4-year-old birthday party crasher. And what should the parents have done? So that's coming up. Tim Sika will join us at the end, towards the end of the show. We'll get his take on Avatar, all the movies that are being released this weekend. And of course, I've been hinting at this. I think I mentioned it yesterday. This film that is making headlines for the use of sound. And I tried watching it, and 10 minutes in, I'm like, I can't sit through this. And so Tim, I reached out to him like, have you ever seen this movie? And he has an interesting take. So you won't want to miss that at all. But let's get it going. And again, click that thumbs up button real quickly. Show support for the show. YouTube loves it. I love it. I love the thumbs up. The super chat is also live, and I'm already seeing people donate. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be giving you guys some shout outs in just a moment. But you know what? Let's do it right now, because screw it. Jim Slayton Starting us off with a $4.99 super sticker. Thank you, Jim. And of course, one of our big sponsors, Andreas, $20 to start off the show. He writes, well, I guess it's getting late for a cast party at a bar or restaurant for Christmas. So buy a drink on me. Love you. I love you, Andreas. I really do. Yeah, it's just been crazy. And I really want to organize something where it's organized. And it's a little overwhelming getting everything up and running. And I want to be able to include as many people as possible. And we would need to figure out where it could be. And I'd love to do it with Mark Thompson. I'd love to do it with Chip Franklin. And I think that would be so much fun. But that takes some time, preparation. We know that Chip just launched his YouTube show, What the Franklin. Of course, Mark has his show. He's with his parents right now. And Kim's been doing an awesome job, hasn't she? Filling in for Mark this week. So thank you again to everybody in the super chat. I love ya. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And I love that game. That was an awesome Niner game yesterday. I could not have been more blown away by our team. And I'm saying our team. Now, I know Brock Purdy is going to get a lot of attention because, oh my God, can you believe it? But I'm going to play you this sound. Now, I went yesterday because I'm a parent, so I'm a taxi cab driver for my children, and my husband and I wanted to watch the game together. I was able to watch the first, let's say, 30 minutes of the game with my parents. Then I had to rush my daughter from tutoring to cheerleading. And so then I had to watch the rest of the game at this pizza place. And I had posted a picture on my Facebook page, and some of you were interacting with me. Delicious pizza. It was really, really yummy. But I walk in, first I call in my pizza order because I want it ready. I want to watch the game. I call in and, I put my order in and they say it's going to be like 30 or 45 minutes. And I go, oh, is it packed in there? Me being a Niner fan, thinking everybody. She's like, no, there's tons of seats. It's just going to take a while because we have a lot of orders. I go, okay. So I walk in and I'm thinking I'm going to sit at a table by myself. But when I walk in, I see these two ladies sitting, and it's not a bar. It's just kind of the bar seating, but there's no bar there. But it's right in front of the television. And you could hear the television, which is what I wanted. And so I get a glass of wine and I go up to the ladies. I'm like, do you mind if I sit with you to watch the game? They had their Niner gear on. And apparently all their family lives in Seattle. And so they were loving it. One of the women has season tickets. So definitely who I wanted to sit next to. And I have to say, just to kind of bring the whole thing into it, hearing three women yelling and screaming at the television for a football game was cracking the men up in the restaurant. And it felt good. It felt good to be a football fan, but with women and really loving watching the game. And it was such a great game. So let me play you some sound. This is analysis from Good Morning Football's Kyle Brandt. And he's saying what I'm saying. I mean, I would say this anyway, but now I'm not jinxing anything. I mean, we were like knocking on everything yesterday, but this team is just blowing people away. So here again is Kyle Brandt with the Good Morning Football.
My biggest takeaway is I think the
Oh, hold on. Let me get the sound up a little higher so we can really fully enjoy Kyle's commentary. Here we go.
My biggest takeaway is I think the Niners can win the whole damn thing. I still do. The whole thing. No team has ever won the Super Bowl with a third-string quarterback. Now, we've seen Brady, obviously. We've seen Nick Foles. But no quarterback that started the season at QB3 on the depth chart, no team has ever taken that guy and won a Super Bowl. It's almost like I feel like they could do it with the fourth-string quarterback. I'm at this point where I'm so believing in Shanahan and the defense and what I'm seeing that right? If Brock Purdy, heaven forbid, gets injured and it's like, well, Josh Johnson, now it's your turn. I feel like I'll still believe in them because when Garoppolo got hurt, we sat here at the table, we're like, oh, man, this sucks. This is terrible. Brock Purdy, who the hell's that? I kept calling him Bryce Petty all day. I kept messing it up. And then here they are going against a team that matters and they're home and national television on a short week, and they just crushed them. There's no Deebo Samuel even last night. He's the most talented player.
No.
He'll be coming back. Who in the NFC, other than Philadelphia, can beat the team that we saw last night plus Deebo? I don't see anybody. And maybe they play Philadelphia and they get a few bounces and they beat them. I'm fully in. I'm so impressed because I keep waiting for that Brock Purdy, oh, man, here he goes. Tough night for him. The league catches up with him. He tried to throw that one to Diggs, and I get it. But even that, it would have been an interception. It happens. I thought they were screwed. I really did. When Garoppolo got hurt, I said, great day for the Vikings, for the Cowboys, for all the NFC teams who don't have to face the real 49ers. I think the real 49ers are the ones that have Kyle Shanahan as their head coach in that defense. Purdy has impressed me so much, but we're seeing some of these throws where, like, the guys are so open, and the scheme is so good. So I've come around, Jay. I'm in. I think they can win the whole thing.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. And I love the comment from Kim. Where did it go? Kim, where did your comment go? Because I totally was looking at Kyle Brandt, and I was like, how do I know that guy? Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football used to be on The Real World. That's him on the right. He was also on my favorite soap opera. Where is the picture? I pulled it. Oh, where did it go? He was also on Days of Our Lives, people. He was also on Days of Our Lives. I lost the picture. But yeah, he used to be on The Real World, and I knew that face. And he's absolutely correct. I think that so many people are blown away by the Niners. And it is the defense. Purdy holding his own. He seems to be really calm, cool, and collected. This isn't a sports show. The only time I talk sports is when I'm talking my Niners, baby. All right. So, but they're looking good. Next up, we're playing Chip Franklin's team, the Washington Commanders. But we won, the NFC West, and it feels really freaking good. So there was that one I saw. And again, I'm sitting in this pizza parlor with these two ladies all decked out in Niner gear. And we saw that roughing the passer call against Bosa. And I'm like, what the hell? So that was kind of BS. But other than that, I thought it was a really good game. And, anytime I can see Pete Carroll chewing that cud as a big old loser, I am happy. So, all right, that's enough sports talk. I love my Niners. We'll continue to watch. And yeah, oh, by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what was over my shoulder. So yes, our website is up and running for you to buy merchandise. We have a cup. This is the big logo. This is the big logo t-shirt. We also have a small one. It's in the wash. I wore it yesterday. So it's the same logo, but it's small. It's about that big on the top. And then we have an eco-friendly tote bag. And you can find all of it at the Nikki Medoro shop shop.com. And so it's really, really easy to find. It's similar to the NikkiMedoroShow.com. Just change the W into a P. And you guys can check it out. And I've been getting tons of orders from you guys. So again, I don't know, again, I have to pay for all of this. And so we're hoping to keep it profitable. But if you like something, get it now, because we'll be adding new things and taking things away. And I absolutely appreciate all your guys' support. All right, let's move on to Twitter. Okay. Now I know, we all know the news that Elon Musk has been kicking journalists off of Twitter. But today's news is that Twitter Spaces appears to be gone after Elon Musk entered and then left a Twitter Spaces. So I'm going to show you, pardon me, some pictures, because this is what it looks like. So first off, this guy writes, "Holy yes, Elon Musk just popped into a Twitter Spaces chat with a bunch of journalists. He was called out by journalist Drew Harrell, who he banned for lying about posting links to his private information, then leaves almost immediately after being pressed. Here's the exchange." I don't have the exchange, but then right after that, people are noticing that he killed off Twitter Spaces. Now, Elon Musk got owned by his own social media platform. Look at this. So, oh, no, that's not it. That's not it. Here it is. Where did it go? Here it is. Elon Musk, real-time posting of someone else's location violates doxing policy, but delayed postings of locations are okay. And then look, Twitter automatically put this up. Publishing flight records is protected under the First Amendment. Twitter, his own platform, knows he's full of crap. And he's done. So Donny O'Sullivan, he's on CNN. He is one of the people that has been banned or suspended, and he thinks permanently, from Twitter. And so he was on CNN and he was talking about what happened And it has to be weird to not really do something and get punished in this way. Here is the exchange on CNN with some hosts and Donnie O'Sullivan.
There are a lot of things to clear up here. I think the most important is an accusation that he made. Elon Musk said, quote, "They posted my exact real-time location." Did you do that?
No, that's just entirely false. And from what we can see, the other journalists who have been suspended as well also did not post his precise live location.
What did you do?
This all goes back. I poked the billionaire. This all goes back to a few days ago when there's this account that tracks the location using publicly available information of his plane. And he kicked that off Twitter. He changed the rules to make it against Twitter's rules. And we were reporting on that. We were reporting on the shutdown yesterday. And late last night around 7, 8 p.m., colleague Oliver Darcy texted me to say, "You've been suspended from Twitter."
Yeah. So you really, I wasn't joking, I'm serious. What did you do? You just simply reported on Twitter and Elon Musk.
We did reporting. And look, I mean, I think it's important to point out here. Twitter is a private company. Yeah. It can do whatever the hell it wants, okay? When it kicked off, Donald Trump, back in January 2021, many people said, look, Trump has other platforms. Twitter, as we spoke about yesterday, the First Amendment does not apply to Twitter. But coming from the guy who's the free speech absolutist, who says he wants this to be a beacon of free expression, it is quite something to see him batting journalists who all just happen to cover him critically, but I would also say fairly.
You're muted.
You're allowed to do these things. He's absolutely right. And it is a private company, and Elon Musk can do whatever he wants, and he could change the rules of service, right? Or the terms of service. He can do that. But you can't have it both ways, Elon. You can't make yourself this bastion of free speech, free expression. Twitter's going to be the place. Let Donald Trump back on. And then all of a sudden you get called out on your BS. And now you're suspending people. Look at the people, Kim, that he suspended. Matt Bender, Ryan Mack. Obviously, Donnie O'Sullivan.
I love that guy.
Drew
He's
Harrell.
So funny.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's unacceptable to do that. And I want to play you one more clip from Donnie O'Sullivan, again with CNN, about the consequence. The consequence, not just to him, but to other types of journalists. Listen to this.
I think one thing that's really important to stress here is I have a platform. I'm on CNN with you guys right now. We are in the privileged position, really, as journalists, where if we want to quit Twitter, we're still going to be able to report and do our jobs. For a lot of independent, freelance journalists around the world, the reality is they have to be on Twitter because that is where editors and publishers will see their work and might hire them. I worry about the chilling effect that this might have on those reporters, particularly when you think that Musk also owns these other companies, Tesla and SpaceX. What if you're in Germany or elsewhere and you're reporting on maybe poor working conditions? Is he going to come and just stamp you down because he says, oh, that's against the rules?
Exactly. I mean, it is chilling, to use his words. But again, Twitter may not be long. It might not last that much longer. I mean, we might be having this conversation over nothing because what Elon Musk is doing to the social media platform by targeting journalists, I do think is the wrong move. Another person at CNN that's been reporting on this is Oliver. Wait, I lost his full name. It is, screw it. But he was talking about how Twitter, Oliver Darcy was talking about how Twitter was made popular by news organizations. That is how it really got a lot of credibility and a lot of followers. Now, yeah, comedians, celebrities, those sorts of things. But when something happens, people would hop on Twitter to figure out what went on. That's the sole reason I joined Twitter several years ago. So again, here is Oliver Darcy talking about
Obviously, it highlights how Musk doesn't really have that commitment to free speech that he said he does, but it also raises questions about what the future of the free press looks like on Twitter. Of course, Twitter's a private platform, so they can do what they want, but news organizations, have provided a lot of content to Twitter over the years. News is sort of the lifeblood of Twitter, and if they decide now that they don't want to be on this platform because he's banning their journalists, I think it raises some questions about the future.
It does. Yeah. I know people are like, I'm never going to join Twitter if they weren't on it before. I'm hopping off of it. But there's so many places that people say they're going. Mastodon. It seems like a laundry list. Like, what's the newest one where people are going? I don't know if there's going to be a replacement of Twitter. I just feel like Twitter is going to go away. In all honesty, I just think it's just going to be a shell of what it was, and it's not going to be how it used to be.
I find it, and I was mentioning this earlier to Michael Schur and Jim Avila, the hypocrisy to say, to be so upset with Twitter for so long, Elon Musk, because they censor, because they are against the right to free speech, and then to walk in and say, he actually said that he would keep people on the platform, even people who are critical of him. And then turn around, and because he has sensitive feelings and a sensitive ego,
and he's losing a ton of money, that's probably also it.
Kick people off. And I I feel like I'm embarrassed for him. I'm very embarrassed for you.
He is embarrassing.
I mean, that's like a little boy throwing a fit in the grocery store aisle. You pick him up, you carry him out, you put him in the car until it's over. And so maybe he'll let these people back on the platform when he's done freaking out. I don't know.
Maybe. But again, I saw people with the Twitter Spaces. This was one of the pictures that was posted. He could be messing with it, tweaking it or whatever. It's probably going to have a rule where you can't make Elon Musk unhappy. I mean, is that going to be just the rule? It's my company and I can do what I want. So
I love Tony when he was asked, what did you do? And he said, I poked a billionaire.
I poked a billionaire. And again, he wasn't posting his location. He was just reporting on it. Right. Think about that.
And the person who was running the website about his jet and the location of said jet went to Mastodon. So that information is out there in the world anyway. So what do you care then if it's on Twitter or if it's on Mastodon? It's out there in the world.
Exactly. It is. And we'll see. Maybe it is. Who said this? Oh, yeah. Randy wrote in. I'm guessing Musk will get Twitter figured out and all this will be a non-issue in the near future. Maybe. Or maybe people are just going to be so tired of it that they're just going to get off the platform. I mean, it wasn't a profitable social media site. It wasn't. That was the problem, is it wasn't making a lot of money. And so can Elon Musk figure it out in a way that makes his $44 billion purchase worth it? I doubt it. But I do, just to put a final point on it, what I did also like about Twitter, and the only reason I would want it to survive is because of, these freelance journalists, because of these, issues that can happen in other parts of the world that don't get a lot of attention. Twitter was great at highlighting those and getting all kinds of voices out. And without the kind of that centralized popular place to go, yes, there's other places, but that was the place for a bit. I worry that there could be delayed reactions or no reaction to kind of atrocities, tragedies, problems happening all around the world. So we'll have to figure out another way to stay engaged if it's not going to be on Twitter. Okay, we do have time for this, and I want to play it for you because I got a little welled up, although I don't know how exactly I feel about it. Now, I am half Puerto Rican. My mother is Puerto Rican. My grandmother was born in Puerto Rico. And, statehood, I feel like Puerto Rico is one of those areas where that is definitely the, taxation without representation type of thing. Not fully taxed, but, they are not a state and they're U.S. territory. And so a bill has passed. It is called the Puerto Rico Status Act. It was passed yesterday and would allow Puerto Rico to hold the first ever binding, which is important, referendum on whether to become a state or gain some sort of independence. It actually passed with some Republican support, 233 to 191. It would offer voters in Puerto Rico 3 options: statehood, independence, or independence with free association. If approved, it would obviously make Puerto Rico the 51st state. Voters could choose outright independence or independence with free association, whose terms would be defined following negotiations over foreign affairs, U.S. citizenship, and the use of the U.S. dollar. So
What is the free association? Can you explain that a little bit?
I don't, again, a free association, I would assume is independence. And then again, I'd have to bring an expert on, but I
Yeah.
think it would have to do with, how much do they want to depend on us for certain things or just be free of their own, right? Like
Okay.
just
Yeah.
not be tied to the United States. But again, I
Sure.
have to do more research and the bill just passed and I didn't read it. Just full disclosure. I'm just reading the analysis of it. But I do want to, I want to play you, well, a lot of questions will be answered because of AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's speech when this bill was being passed. And I'm going to share my screen. So again, let me know in the comments if you can hear it because it's always a crapshoot on whether or not you can hear it loud enough. But here she is. And it's a few minutes long, but it's worth listening and watching because this is history. If this happens, this is history in the making. Here is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Congresswoman from New York.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I begin today, I would like to begin my remarks by expressing solidarity with other U.S. colonies, colonized people, indigenous communities, and descendants of the enslaved. Today represents a historic moment. While Puerto Rico is not the United States' only colony, it is its oldest. Today, for the first time in our nation's history, the United States will acknowledge its role as a colonizing force and Puerto Rico's status as an extended colony. The Puerto Rico Status Act begins a process for Boricuas to decide their own future. And in this bill, we have made historic and unprecedented gains. Never before have terms for independence and free association been so clearly defined, including ramifications for citizenship. This bill excludes the current unsustainable colonial status. It clarifies that U.S. birthright citizenship and transmission of citizenship remains the same in any event of status selection. It provides 10 years of compensatory finance in the event of free association. And it also includes an agreement to international election observers over the course of a plebiscite. This bill has also achieved historic and unprecedented multi-party agreement on the island, including representatives from the Independence, Statehood, and Movimiento Victoria parties. These gains are critically important to codify in precedent here in this House. And I also want to acknowledge that rightfully some of the criticisms of what is not in this bill. It is not perfect, but we have fought tirelessly to expand the transparency where previously there was less, and there is still more to go. It does not address reparations. It does not address the issues of Act 20, Promesa, and Luma, but I am confident that in solidarity with movements on the island, we will solve these issues and achieve those victories as well. I also want to note that decolonization is more than a vote. It doesn't happen just with a vote. It is a social, political, cultural, economic, and psychological process that extends far beyond the floor of this House. That being said, the gains that are made here are a watershed moment. And I would like to thank, first and foremost, my incredible mentor, Representative Nidia Velázquez, who has fought for the people of Puerto Rico for her entire career and her entire life. I'd like to thank our other colleagues, Chairman Grijalva for elevating this issue, Leader Hoyer for making this a priority, as well as Resident Commissioner Gonzalez Colon. I'd also like to thank grassroots advocacy organizations, as well as our partners in the Independence, Free Association, and Statehood parties. These gains are incredibly important, and they are a waypoint and a stepping stone for the future of our island. And I think it sends a very strong message to all. And for there to be any vote, we hope, prior to any vote, we hope that the energy of people both in the diaspora and on the island are here. And lastly, but certainly not least, as we ring out in the refrain that is said among people across the world and Puerto Ricans across the world, yo sí soy boricua. pa que tú lo sepa. And I yield my time back to the chair.
So, it's historic. And this is the thing. However they vote, however Puerto Ricans vote, they get a vote. And that's the thing. And I know that somebody was mentioning they've done this twice before. That was non-binding. This would be binding. That is the difference. And it's 3 options. You know what wasn't one of the options? Was actually staying a U.S. territory. So we'll see what they decide. It's one of those things where I don't know what I would do. There's pros and cons, right? I mean, if you become a state, there's the tax implication. Some businesses may want to leave because there were tax breaks if you were in Puerto Rico, right? I mean, you could pull businesses from there. People might, depending on the federal government, can both be a double-edged sword. So I think the economic benefits are what most people are considering. I do not know about dual citizenship or all of those, intricacies of the bill, but we'll have to see what they decide and what they're going to do. So, possibly a historic moment.
They have to ask themselves, what do they get from the United States? And what's the benefit of keeping it the way it is? Like, what is it? Towels and after a major disaster, paper towels?
Yeah, like Maria, absolutely. I mean,
They're
look
not
at how
the help they need. The
they're
power
not.
is out for months and months and months. They're left up to their own. They hardly get assistance, right? So what's the benefit?
Yeah.
You get to be an American citizen? Is that
Well, you get an American citizen, you get
Right.
probably quicker help, right? If you're a state. I do think that a location, I know people were bringing up Washington, D.C., which still boggles my mind. I mean, you should have heard Mitch McConnell talking about how much he's against turning Washington, D.C. into a state simply because Democrats would get those votes. It's literally on the continental United States, and he's against it. It's crazy. So we'll keep an eye on this. I couldn't let that story pass without mentioning it. We're going to do some news, and then when we come back, we are going to switch gears. I am going to have this reporter from Cal Matters on, talking about this man. His name is Lorenzo Mays. He's intellectually disabled, and he spent years in the criminal justice system, and for a crime he insists he never did and never actually got tried for. And so we'll talk about his specific case and what it highlights of our criminal justice system here in the state of California. So that's coming up after Kim's news. Again, click that thumbs up button. It really helps us out. I'll be giving some shout outs to people in the super chat because I really appreciate all of you so very much. That's all coming up right after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. I scroll down back through my screen now. It is another day of red on Wall Street. Unfortunately, investors selling after the Federal Reserve said rate hikes would continue through next year. Brittany Griner back home in Phoenix after being in a Russian custody since February. In an Instagram post, Griner said the love from so many people kept her going and that she's thanking everyone for their help from the bottom of her heart. She says she's grateful to her wife, her family, and her entire WNBA family for all of their support. A new report says millions of misdiagnoses occur every year in the emergency room. That's not good. The Department of Health and Human Services estimates 7.4 million errors made annually. They result in about 2.6 million people being harmed. A judge waiting until January to hear arguments in a lawsuit against New York City's plan to involuntarily hospitalize the mentally ill. Attorney Marinda Van Dalen with New York Lawyers for Public Interest says the policy violates the Constitution and the American with Disabilities Act. Under the directive, Mayor Eric Adams reminded police officers and other first responders that they have legal authority to transport someone experiencing a mental health crisis to the hospital. The Senate Majority Leader says former President Trump ultimately was a child. New York Democrat Chuck Schumer making the remark while speaking to CNN alongside House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Schumer said his colleague from California was very effective at dealing with Trump because she's raised 5 children and knows how to deal with children. Schumer said Americans have gotten wise to Trump, though, after his time in office. For her part, Nancy Pelosi said Trump's family really needs to stage an intervention for him. So far, no comment from former President Trump on those remarks by Pelosi or Schumer. Changes are coming to California's rooftop solar rules. The Public Utilities Commission voting to reduce payments to homeowners from both PG&E and SoCal Edison and San Diego Gas and Electric. This only for new customers, but the new state incentives will be available. Critics argue those who don't have solar panels end up with higher bills, while supporters say it means less pollution and protects against power shutoffs. The man charged with attacking Dave Chappelle in Los Angeles is getting nearly 9 months behind bars. Isaiah Lee, sentenced after pleading no contest to one misdemeanor count of battery and one misdemeanor count of entering a restricted area during a live event at the Hollywood Bowl in May. The reports that 24-year-old is already in jail after being charged for allegedly trying to murder his roommate last year. He is scheduled to address that incident in court in January. But again, it is almost 9 months behind bars for that attack of Dave Chappelle. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For nearly 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, call Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can find him online. Great website, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Okay, so imagine, if you will, being arrested for a crime you say you did not do. And then you're thrown in jail. And how quickly you would want to get the hell out of jail, right? I mean, you would not want to be there, especially for a crime you did not commit. Now, add on top of that, having some sort of disability, some sort of mental disability, intellectual disability. Well, that happened to a gentleman. His name is Lorenzo Mays, and he spent years basically behind bars and never got a fair trial, or apparently any trial whatsoever.
How is that possible?
Well, let's find out. Jocelyn Weiner writes about health and mental health for Cal Matters, and she joins us now. Jocelyn, thank you so much for coming on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I guess first off, let's just start off with who is Lorenzo Mays and how this whole entire, travesty began.
Lorenzo, he's now almost 40. When he was 27, he and some siblings and the boyfriend of one of his siblings were arrested for a shooting in Sacramento. And he has an intellectual disability, and so was put into the Sacramento County Jail and ended up eventually, after a couple of years, being found incompetent to stand trial. And he ended up spending almost 9 years in the jail waiting to have his competency restored so that he could have a trial. And eventually they did stop trying, but he was then sent to the state hospital, and then he finally got out earlier this year, where he's now living in a group home.
So explain this to me. Let's start off with finding someone competent to stand trial, because again, you wrote in this article, which again, well done article, really detailed, kind of about the failures and how long processes like finding someone competent to stand trial can take.
Yeah, I mean, so I think this is better known for people with serious mental illness, where the state has a pretty serious backlog of people who are waiting to get into a state hospital, with the idea that they can then, some of them, if they have the correct training, could have their competency restored. There are rules in place about how long that's supposed to be able to take. So legally, at this point, I think there's only 2 years once someone is ordered placed somewhere that the state has, or the court has to restore their competency. But obviously, in Lorenzo's case, it took far longer, and ultimately, he never did have a trial.
Okay, so that kind of gets to the crux of the thing. You say almost 9 years. Was he seen by people? Did they talk to people? Was his family kind of being like, what happened to a speedy trial? What were some of the things you found that were leading to not only the delays in finding him competent or not competent, but the fact that he's just sitting there without ever being taken to trial?
Yeah, I mean, the court knew about, I mean, he kept coming before different judges. He had 4 different defense attorneys. And then he was getting a lot of different psychologists evaluating him. So.
And what were they finding? I mean, and again, just to clarify, because people who are watching are wondering, he was in jail. He wasn't like in a mental hospital or anything. He was sitting in jail.
Yeah, he was in jail. And there was a lot of, people with disabilities are pretty vulnerable in the jail setting. And so he had a lot of really bad stuff happen to him while he was in jail. And eventually he got placed in like a solitary confinement situation, actually for most of his time, because, they didn't feel like he could be out in the general population. So in addition to like the different assaults that happened to him, he also developed a vitamin D deficiency because he never went outside, and his mental health issues really got magnified. And his family, I know he has a lot of siblings. One of them said that she kept trying to call and figure out what was going on. I mean, there were people who were trying to speak up and say, come on, but
yeah,
it kind of just seemed like the system was functioning at this like sort of micro level, sort of like, but no one was maybe seeing the big picture of what this meant for him.
Yeah. So let's talk about the big picture. And again, I'm speaking with Jocelyn Weiner, who writes for Cal Matters and covers health and mental health. Your stuff has also been seen in the Washington Post, the Atlantic, and other places. So Jocelyn, what does this case highlight when we are talking about someone languishing in the Sacramento County Jail for almost 9 years, has an intellectual disability, and then never makes it to trial? What are people who are now looking at Lorenzo and others' cases, what are they pointing to as the real problem within the criminal justice system here?
Everybody has a different answer to that. That's one of the complexities of this story. There are so many players, and I've asked everybody that question. I would say one thing is that people need to sort of know what's going on, know what the actual laws are. And it seemed like maybe not everybody did. I think there's like in LA, I think they have like everybody who for competency issues going through mental health courts with like a few judges who actually know the laws and know how things are supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing. Lorenzo's case is so complicated. There's all these like pieces of it. He was, because there were multiple defendants, he didn't have a public defender. He had a conflict defense attorney, and he had 4 of them. And so certain services that might be available or certain education that might have been available to the public defender's office didn't necessarily spill over to all of those people. I think some of them are very good, and then others maybe less so. And so how you kind of get that quality to be equal to the public defenders is another. Anyway, I feel like everybody had a different solution.
Right, exactly. I mean, how many Lorenzos are there out there? I mean, is this just the tip of the iceberg when we're talking about cases like this?
Well, it depends on who you ask. Certainly the Department of Developmental Services told me that like his case is very unique. And I do think 9 years, that's a bit of an outlier. That's probably why I was drawn to the case. But it is not uncommon for people to be waiting a year or 2 years. people are waiting in jail with intellectual disabilities or serious mental illnesses around the state. That's an ongoing problem.
Right. Now, are there any, I would hope that there's something in the works to kind of fix this system, bills. I mean, is there any sort of legislation to make sure or try to ensure that people who are arrested and jailed get their day in court in a timely manner? I mean, besides the laws that are already obviously on the books that they're supposed to get it that way?
I get the sense that there's like a lot of regional stuff happening in different, like including Sacramento County. I know in the last couple of years they've been trying to do better, to divert more people out of the criminal justice system who don't belong there. The Department of State Hospitals has also been putting some money toward that, and then the State Department of Developmental Services says that they're working to like really educate more people, both the district attorneys and I think also public defenders, about how the system is supposed to work, what the laws are. So they feel like Lorenzo's case is a history lesson as opposed to an ongoing problem. Other people I talked to would disagree with that.
How is Lorenzo now? And where is he?
He's in a group home. He's hoping to get into an independent living situation at some point, and he's working. I think he certainly feels better about where he is now than where he was. And
of course.
it is striking to me because I've asked him a few times if he's angry, and he isn't. He doesn't seem to be holding it against anyone, but is also clearly like, what happened to me?
Yeah, and that's when I read your article in Cal Matters, it just blew me away. I saw a question from one of our viewers. Could he not have made bail? I mean, was there no ability for his family to get him out and maybe bring him back if and when a judge ever wanted to see him?
Oh, it was a murder trial.
So that was not possible at all. Yeah. What was the outcome of that case, though? I mean, did they find the person that committed the crime?
I read through the court files. It's pretty tricky to know who exactly did what, to be honest. But there was one person who was convicted of murder and sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. And then the three siblings of Lorenzo's who were also in the car, their charges were downgraded to voluntary manslaughter. And Lorenzo, though, because he was never tried, he didn't, his charge remained the same, and then they just dropped it in the end.
That's crazy. And is there, no lawsuit or anything against the county for holding him and not giving him a trial? Is there any recourse for him, or is it just like, sorry about those almost 9 years that you were in jail?
Yeah, so Disability Rights California and the Prison Law Office in 2018 did file a class action against the county for kind of some of the conditions that the inmates in the jail were living in. Mm-hmm. And Lorenzo was named as the lead plaintiff in that. And so that has led to a lot of change in the county and in the jail. But since Lorenzo is no longer actually in the jail, it isn't like a direct benefit to him. There's no payments, or it's a class action. So it's certainly has its value, but no, I don't know of any lawsuit that he and his family have brought. I don't think that they necessarily would know how to at this point.
That's crazy to me. It seems like they have such a case because, again, he was held for so long. never got a trial, and then was just let go. It seems criminal to treat somebody that way. If you think that somebody has committed a crime, then you need to try them for it. And I understand trying to find competency and the complication of that. But I'm glad to hear that, hopefully he's better, and he seems, and you're talking to him, happier, which I can imagine he would be, not in jail. Jocelyn Weiner, again with Cal Matters. I'll link your article to my social media feeds because it's quite a read. It's mind-boggling what happened to this person, and scary to think that it could happen to other people. I really appreciate you coming on the Nikki Medoro Show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine anybody, being held for almost 9 years, pardon me, never getting your day in court? And again, I think that because, in my opinion, because of his intellectual disability, not that he was forgotten, because obviously, he was going before, and his case was never just brought to trial, and it just seems absolutely criminal. So again, read the article. It's very detailed, and I can't imagine something like this still happening, not just in this country, but in our state, and it does seem criminal. Okay, we have a few more minutes. I want to do a quick segment of what would you do? All right. This isn't a light question, Kim.
Yeah.
But we've all had childhood bullies. I'm sure you can remember somebody. You shared a story of someone in high school that wrote that thing in the yearbook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right. But that was, definitely while you were a kid. You were in high school, so a little bit older. Okay. I want to show you this tweet that a CNN analyst, I guess, legal analyst, I think, political analyst put out. And it raises this really interesting question of, how do you treat your childhood bullies when they reach out to you as adults? Okay. So here it is. This is Elliot Williams, again, a political analyst for CNN. He wrote, "One of the few people who have called me the N-word to my face, this was as a kid, just sent me a LinkedIn invite.
Oh.
Do I, 1, be the bigger person and make it a teachable moment? 2, dox him with a vengeance and ruin him, 2022 style, baby? Or 3, ignore. I have holiday baking to do." Let me know in the chat. What do you guys think? Would you do 1, number 2, or number 3? And the reason why I was pondering this question is I wouldn't do number 2. I'm not going to dox anybody. But when he says number 1, be the bigger human and make it a teachable moment.
Yeah.
What does that sound like? What does that look like? How do you read that? Do you remember when you called me the N-word? I don't think that you should be.
I accept the message, and I say, hey, I accepted your friend request, but I just wanted to let you know you're one of the only people in my life that ever used this word directed at me. I still remember it.
Yeah.
Give the person a chance to apologize. And if they don't, then unlink them on your LinkedIn. Right?
Yeah.
It happened to me one time where there was a boy at a party that had to be pulled off of me. Yes.
Oh, because he was getting handsy or whatever,
That's right.
assaulting you?
That's right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If there wasn't an intervention, I probably would have been attacked.
Right.
And he was very, very drunk and knew something about it. And I always remembered him as that guy that was my almost moment, right?
Right.
That guy that you warn your kids, don't get drunk at a party. Always stay out with your friends. Let me tell you what happened to me, right?
Oh,
it has served a purpose in my life to be able to say, here's what can happen to you. And in that almost moment, a couple of years ago, he reached out on Facebook and he said, look, I know something happened. I don't remember exactly what, but it can't have been good. And I just want to tell you that I'm really embarrassed about it. I had a drinking problem for a lot of years. Not that that's any excuse, he said, but I know that something's happened. I want to apologize for however this has affected you in your life. I hope that it hasn't severely impacted your life. And it didn't. It's something I'll never forget. It was a moment where I actually felt, it was this first moment where I ever felt like I really wasn't strong enough to defend myself. He was very strong.
Yeah.
And so that, for that moment, I was like, because I'm not a small person. And I always thought if someone attacked me, I'd be able to fend them off. No, I really was not strong enough to do it. And I've never forgotten it. But him reaching out and putting that out there and that apology and showing me that he'd grown as a person, I really appreciated it. It was almost like this kind of full circle, like healing
He
moment.
didn't though. What if he just like friend requested you and said, "Hey Kim, remember me?"
If he hadn't referenced the incident and taken the moment to apologize, I would either have friended him or accepted the friend request to see if he was going to, or not. I would have thought, what are you doing? Why of me of all people would you want a friend? But that's not the way it worked out. So I guess my point in recalling that incredibly personal story is to say, listen, if this guy does accept this LinkedIn request and does say, listen, you're the person in my life that called me the N-word, I've never forgotten it. And give that person a chance to reflect and go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was raised in a house where that was okay. I've come to understand that it's not. I'm horribly sorry. I'm so embarrassed that I've done this. Then maybe you can have some type of connection with this person, even though it's probably not something you'll never forget. It's similar to my situation. So that's my long-winded answer. Yeah.
I love this comment. I'm tired of teaching. I had 4 junior high school bullies that followed me through senior year of high school, torturing me. I have nothing to say other than get away, stay away. I knew better. You should by now, and I'm not the one to teach you.
Yeah.
And I get that. It's you harmed me for so long or did something so heinous. Now I'm supposed to give something to you?
Yeah.
Like, no, that would just be a really hard pill for me to swallow.
But I feel like it's not just that person you're giving something to. You're really giving yourself an opportunity as well. Because when that person reached out to me, I realized he remembered that he hurt me. He carried it too. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Right? That was walking around with that. So I think you really do even if you don't think you're carrying some hurt from it, you really do give yourself the opportunity to heal some as well. That's what it feels
absolutely. Like. Absolutely. I love this one from Vilma. Ran into a junior high school bully. She took one look at me and said with a sneer on her face, said, "You haven't changed." She was commenting on my looks. I didn't answer back and I kept going.
See, that's someone who never grew.
That's someone that never grew,
She was mean when she was little, and she's mean now.
And there's some people that are like that, right? It's just you never grew up. We understand kids can be mean and all those sorts of things, but yeah, I love your guys' response to it. I have one more. What would you do before we do Kim's news? And this one, Kim, I could see us, especially with our kids when they're younger, but even now, even as the age our kids are now, this is a sensitive kind of situation. And I'm really curious on what you guys would do. So this woman goes online and asked about party etiquette. And basically the nuts and bolts of the story is she has a 4-year-old daughter. She takes her to one of like those jumpy house places, right? For the day. And so when they're there, her young 4-year-old daughter sees some classmates that are there for one of the classmates' birthdays. Okay.
Ouch.
So, well, it doesn't seem from the woman's note that the kid was hurt, but she was friends with some of the people at the birthday party. Okay. So what happens? It's like a playground area, like one of those play areas. So everyone's kind of playing with each other. And so then when there's time for cake and presents, the 4-year-old daughter starts kind of sitting there and kind of joining in. Now, the woman writes that that she was really hurt. So she writes, the mother of the birthday girl completely ignored my daughter. She turned her back to her while offering all the other children in attendance pizza and cake. Once the woman noticed this, she removed, it was actually her niece, not her daughter, her niece from the scene, getting the message that she was not welcome. But then when the cake came out and it was her niece's favorite character, Elsa, she started crying. And so she's wondering, what should I have done there? And what should the other mom have done? Because on one hand, if you know how convoluted birthday parties can be. You have a
Yeah.
set number of cupcakes or whatever, and like, oh my God, now we're gonna invite every frigging kid that's at this birthday party
Somebody
place.
brings a cousin, right? Someone's
Right.
always
So,
extra.
so,
Yeah.
so what do you think should have been done? Do you think that the mom who, again, maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she didn't know that this kid
Yep.
was even part of the school, right? Like it was just this kid that was playing. Maybe she thought it was
Random.
just some other kid.
Yeah.
Like a rando that's inviting themselves over. We could be a little forgiving on that, but what would you have done? I would have read that situation way earlier. I would have been
Yeah.
like, oh, it looks like there's a birthday party. You can play with your friends, but remember, when it's time to go in there, we're going to stay out here because
Right.
that's the party that's going on. Or, what if there was kids that are like, yay, hi, because kids can be really nice also. They could be mean,
Yeah.
but they could be nice. Like, sure, come on. And the mom's like, I only have 12 cupcakes. You're 13. I don't have anything for you.
So 2 things went wrong there. Number 1, the mom of the 4-year-old who wasn't invited to the birthday party, as you said, wasn't proactive in saying, oh, they're having a birthday party. You can play a little bit on the playground, but we have to go.
Right.
And then actually hightailing it out of there.
Yeah.
Right? You can see that coming a mile away. Although if it's their first kid and the kid's only 4.
And only 4. They haven't even got
you don't
a
have a lot of
kindergarten
mom
yet.
experience yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Second of all, if you're the birthday party mom, you got to know if you're going to the park, you could see anybody.
Yes.
And these are small children.
Yeah.
And so you have to expect that you're going to have extras and you need to be welcoming, and to ignore a 4-year-old child like that.
Yeah.
I think that's non-mom behavior. We don't do this. This is not how we roll.
Yeah.
We might say, how I'm so excited to see you and it's so good that you're here. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of cupcakes right now, but I'll make sure you get one later or something like that.
Yeah.
Something, and then you make everybody feel welcome. Even, I just feel like even if it's a random at the park, it's a child, and you don't.
Yes.
I mean,
that's
I can't hurt a little kid's feelings. A 4-year-old, 0% chance that I am going to say, sorry, you're not part of the party. You're out.
I mean, there have been many situations where I found myself, and I remember we went camping one year. It was just, I think it was like when COVID was kind of coming out. And there was a kid who was 2 campgrounds, and these were tiny campgrounds, so you were like really neighbors with people. Right. Every morning, first thing, sitting at my bench, wanting to play, Uno with us, and we played. We're like, come on in. Obviously, you're not being entertained by whoever else you came with,
right?
And it's no big deal because what am I going to do? Look at this kid and be like, get the hell out of here, kid! I didn't bring you.
It's the beauty of being in a public space like that,
of
having that kind of community feeling. So I think that's really sweet. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was handled poorly by both moms.
Yeah, I would adjust. Exactly. I think that both of them could have seen that awkward situation coming a lot sooner. And it's always a risk when you go to those public places. If you don't want to run into people you don't know, have it at your house, because then you're pretty much guaranteed. Okay, we're going to break for a quick news. I know, just give her a piece of cake. I agree. And then when we come back, I'm going to tell you the latest trick that Porch Pirates are using to get your packages. And it's kind of genius, because if you're one of those people that are constantly watching your Ring camera, you might be fooled. And then all of a sudden you got had. So I'll tell you what that is. Tim Seek is going to join us later on in the show. We're going to talk about movie. We're going to talk about this Jean Delman film. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. And his take on this film that's been in the news as like, oh, I wish I could see this movie for the first time again. I tried. I couldn't make 10 minutes. I could not make 10 minutes. So that's all coming up. Plus, of course, click that thumbs up button. Again, support our exclusive founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. We love him. Hopefully, he'll be making it on the show in just a moment as well. That is all coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show. But now some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. The Biden administration is trying to prevent the spread of COVID over the winter. Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra urging Americans to get their updated flu and COVID vaccine. How many times have we heard this? But let's say it again, because it's really important. He also noted the administration is offering more free at-home COVID tests. You can get some more of those. They're also establishing pop-up mobile vaccine sites. Officials from both sides of the political aisle are warning of a humanitarian crisis in El Paso, Texas. This is where immigrant groups are reporting thousands of migrants forced to sleep in the freezing streets of the city because the shelters there are just overwhelmed. Meanwhile, New York City Mayor Eric Adams says he is already dealing with a crisis trying to house and shelter 30,000 new arrivals since May without any state or federal help. One of the first rioters to enter the Capitol during last year's riot is headed to prison. Doug Jensen of Iowa was sentenced to 5 years after being convicted of multiple charges. He became one of the more recognizable figures in the attack after he was seen chasing a U.S. Capitol police officer who diverted the mob away from the Senate floor. Protesters are demanding that the San Jose Unified School District have police-free schools. They gathered outside the building, then spoke during last night's meeting. Right now, each school decides when and how long and how many member officers that they want on campus. It is all part of a memorandum of understanding with police. But last year, the district decided to create an advisory committee that will determine if a resource officer is needed or not. Budget cuts coming across all departments in San Francisco. Mayor London Breed gave that order yesterday as the city is facing a budget shortfall of $728 million over the next 2 years. Her office blames slowed revenue growth and a loss of temporary federal COVID funding. The mayor also wants departments to quickly fill vacant positions for core services that she says will support the city's recovery. And it looks like more tourists are checking out San Francisco. Well, hello to you. Several spots around the city are trending on Google Maps this year. The top scenic spots category includes Golden Gate Vista Point in the Mill Valley area, Sausalito area. That ranks as the second most searched in the country. In the top cultural landmarks category, Japantown Peace Plaza is 7th, and that is followed by the Mrs. Doubtfire House. People search that. That is in the Pacific Heights neighborhood. That one came in at number 8. And this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. If you need help with your taxes for more than 30 years, Steve Moskowitz, I almost called him Moskowitz, has put his knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. So if you need help with your taxes, Steve Moskowitz is the one to call. It 888-TAX-STEAL. Check him out on the internet at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, thank you. This is the second hour of the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube. I want to give some thank yous to everybody that's been donating during the show. I love you guys. Yeah. It's so awesome to see. Kevin Hobbs, $25 donated to the super chat. Thank you. We also have Joe Fong, a $9.99 super sticker. You're amazing. I love this. We have a comment from Harry, a $10 donation. How did Elon become a millionaire? He started as a billionaire and That's
a good one.
That's a good one. Carmelo with a $20 super sticker. What? Thank you. Think Forward, $20. Happy Friday, ladies, and Andreas. Andreas always helping us out.
Cheers.
Starts off with $20. We are going to plan some sort of events in the new year. I'd love to get Mark Thompson, Chip Franklin on there as well. And then, of course, Jim Slayton with a $5 super sticker. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
And somebody had said in the comments, and they're absolutely correct, and I can't find it right now, but I need to include the link. When I post the details of the show, I should put, of course, that we do have merchandise for sale. You can find the link on our website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. That's the direct website right there, thenikkimedoroshop.com. It's very easy to remember. That works out perfectly. Oh,
the other one.
Either one.
Nikki Medoro Show. But if you go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com, there's a Nikki Medoro Shop link. So we've got you covered no matter what.
And so this is what we have. We have the tote bag. I'm trying to make I would never be a good meteorologist with the green screen. Okay, so we have the tote bag right there. And then we have the big logo t-shirt. And then right next to my man, Matthew, my kind of hottie, is the cup. Let me just bring it up. Everyone liked the cup. The cup's been very popular, by the way.
Yeah, I like the cup.
On the merchandise site. And then I also have a small logo. It's about this big t-shirt. Same logo, just smaller. And so go to the website, theNikkiMedoroShow.com or the Nikki Medoro Shop, and you can get all of our merchandise right there. So, and we thank everybody for your support. Okay, so let's get into it. Those damn porch pirates, they are getting creative. All right. So here's what they're doing. And it's kind of genius. I mentioned this when we were talking earlier, Kim. When you want to not be noticed at a place you're not supposed to be, you have to act like you belong there. You have to tell yourself, you have to act like it. And so what these porch pirates are doing is they're acting like delivery drivers. So one case out of Colorado, there was a video. 2 porch pirates were seen in this video. It was a woman and an accomplice in a waiting vehicle. In the video, a woman can be seen walking up to the home and then ringing the doorbell. Seems normal, right? Like, why would a porch pirate ring my doorbell? A second later, she walks back to the truck and gets in. Then the driver pulls closer to the home's walkway. The woman returns to the door, but not empty-handed. She drops off 2 boxes, acting like a delivery driver, and then takes another package that was already there, a real package, back with her. So if, the neighbors watching, they're like, oh, it's just somebody dropping off packages and not making any sort of, writing down the license plate number or anything like that. You see it on the ring and you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's just someone dropping off packages. Don't report it. Don't do anything like that. And nope, they're stealing your stuff. So that is the newest thing to watch out for.
This is the problem with this whole new era of anyone can deliver a package, right? Because now not all the delivery vehicles are marked. It used to be when the UPS truck came, it said UPS on the side and everyone knew what it looked like. Big brown van, right? Or when the FedEx truck came, it had the purple and the green, like you knew what it was. When the postman comes, post people come, you know exactly what the little truck's going to look like.
Exactly.
Yes, I heard yesterday, the day before, we had ordered something for Jacob for Christmas.
Okay.
And this guy pulls up in a white station wagon and he gets out in a UPS uniform.
Okay.
And he comes up to the porch and I happened to be in the car waiting for a kid to come out to go to some, I think it was karate. And so walks up to the porch, rings the doorbell. And I get out of my car and say, oh, did you need me to sign for something? And he says, yes. And it turns out to be this item. But I was like, and he's dressed like a UPS driver. He's got the little electronic signing thing and he's got my package. But that car could belong to anyone. So you don't know anymore whether it's legit or whether it's not.
I mean, that again, it's the age we live in. Anybody can drop food off in any car that they want to. Kim writes in, my friend's working for UPS over the holiday season and using her own personal vehicle. So there's no, and again, she writes in, all you need to do is act like you're supposed to be there. And it gets you nearly everywhere with no questions asked. So yeah, just be mindful of all that. It's nice working from home, I'll have to say, because I could see they're coming up the porch. And the hard part, of course, is when you get things delivered and everyone always uses my name, for any sort of delivery, whether it's Amazon or some other place. Right. So I always have to know, can I open this package or is this something for me? Is this something for somebody else? But as long as I'm getting my packages, and again, you don't have to get things delivered to your home. I mean, I know Amazon does it. I don't know about UPS and FedEx, but Amazon has those lockers. You can go, I know I think Rite Aid was doing them, and they're in a bunch of different places where you could just get your stuff there. I actually returned something and it was an Amazon drop-off place and you could pick up and drop off all of your packages there. And then you don't have to worry about it because it sucks to spend money on stuff that you're never going to get because of these damn porch pirates. Real quickly though, remember that Thank My Driver promotion that Amazon had going?
Yeah. Where I think every time you said thank you, they would
On
give
Alexa.
the driver $5 or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, it
They were
ended.
entered into a sweepstakes and someone got lots of money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Supposedly. I mean, I want to see the receipts on that. But did you know that that promotion was launched on the exact same day that Washington, D.C. filed a lawsuit against Amazon, accusing the
Oh.
company of stealing tips from its drivers and tricking customers along the way? So,
Well, that's a little suspect.
right, exactly. It alleges that at first, Amazon Flex drivers would receive tips, which the checkout process added for customers as a default. But a few years ago, actually 2016, it quietly changed the rules to direct those tips into the paying drivers' salaries. Amazon, though, was still saying that they'd receive 100% of the tips. But obviously, if you're putting it in the paycheck, you're not getting 100% of the tips. So there's going to be obviously money taken out, because your paycheck is not 100% of the money that you make. So, yeah, there's a lawsuit underway. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Amazon, though, that's why that whole thing, my driver, I don't have an Alexa, so I never participated in it.
Right.
I don't trust that company to do exactly what it's saying. Come on now. It's gonna keep as much money as it wants to. That's the thing.
I don't trust Alexa. I never trusted Alexa to not listen in.
Yeah.
I
don't
also
have any of
didn't
it.
trust the Google Home to not listen in, so I don't have those items.
I don't have any of that. I don't want something. It has to be constantly listening to you, so
Right.
it knows when you say the words that supposedly turns it on. It's always on.
My
I
mom
freak
has
out
one.
about my camera on my computer.
She'll just turn around and go, Google, play blah, blah, blah
Oh, yeah.
music. Or Google, do this. Google, what's that? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Right. I mean, but I think once you get used to doing it, then you
Yeah.
really, really like it. Right. Oh, look, I can get the answer. Google will tell me whatever question I
I don't
throw
even
at
have
it.
to lift a finger.
I don't have
Yeah.
to do anything. I'm like, lift the finger, because what you're giving up in exchange is huge. It's absolutely huge. I was not able to get to this, so we have time in this segment. What do you think of the 4-day school week? So
I don't know.
more districts are doing this. There's a district in Missouri is the latest. It's independent school district. It's the latest to move to a 4-day school week. Good Morning America was focusing on it. They're saying that it doesn't mean less instruction time. It means a longer school day. I'll ask you guys in the live chat. Do you think something like this could spread in the way that, at least at this point, where people are able to work from home? So combining all of those things, could this be something that everyone will just adapt to? Or are the work day and the school day too aligned that it's going to screw the balance of everything up?
So is
Because
Ricky Aubert writes that the 4-day week is actually a longer day.
yeah, it's a longer day. It's a longer
Yeah.
school day. So you stay in school longer, but you have that, like, let's say Friday off, which I assume everyone wants Friday off. So,
Sure.
and so the school year, the hours of instruction would be the
Mhm.
same, but you'd have Friday off. What would you like about it? What wouldn't you like about it?
Well, I like that because 3-day weekends are awesome, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you work from home, you can take off a little early on a Friday. It gives you a chance to really travel, to go somewhere and do something for the weekend.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that work that can't work from home or can't take off early, even if they do work from home, or have to go physically to a place of employment. And for those people, that's an extra day they have to pay for daycare.
Yeah.
And so then you have people that might not be able to afford it. You throw an extra cost at them. So I don't know.
Jim writes in, no, a 4-day school week doesn't work with teacher schedule, who now has to work even longer.
See, I think teachers would love it. I think if
Well,
teachers
it's being used in some of these school
Yeah.
districts as a hiring tool.
Right.
They're like, I get a day where
Yeah.
I don't have to do school work. I mean,
Right.
teachers though do work
My mom would
every
stay.
day.
My mom was a school teacher for 40 years, and she used to stay at school until 6 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
prepping for the next day. Like you'd
Mhm.
always see her light was the one that was on, because she was writing things on the board and getting ready and preparing and putting little art things on every desk and doing all the things that you have to do for the next day.
Of course.
Teachers are going to stay an hour extra to do that extra. It was 1 hour of extra instruction every
Something like
day
that,
in
yeah.
order to get their Friday off and have more time with their family where they're not in that classroom. Absolutely. I really believe that people would do it. I used to work a 4-day work week and a 3-day work week sometimes because
Ooh,
we
I
had
like that.
12-hour shifts at a hospital. So I worked in the emergency room at UC Davis Med Center,
Nice.
and it was a 12-hour shift situation. So you could schedule the 12-hour shifts back to back so that you would have 3 weeks of, I think, 3 days and 1 week of 4. If you put all the shifts close together, and you would have nearly 2 weeks off of work just normally if you
Nice.
worked them all. So I never minded that. I always have this feeling like if I'm there, I'm there. The whole hard thing about work for me is like getting there,
Yeah,
getting
it's like the
motivated,
gym, right? It's like
get
once you're
up,
there, it's all good,
get
but
dressed, get fancy looking, get in the car, drive the hour to the city or whatever it may be, whatever your
right.
commute is. But once you're there, you're there. You might as
Yeah.
well throw in that extra hour and get it done, right?
Yeah, and so I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat. So, for instance, in Missouri at this independent school district, students and staff will have Mondays off. School days, the rest of the week will be 35 minutes longer to make up the required difference. There's already 25 states that have adopted 4-day instruction, and it's growing. In Missouri, of the 142 school districts using it, only one switched back. And this school district, Independence, is going to provide a 5th day option for students up to 8th grade who do still want that 5th day. But apparently, a lot of research so far has shown there's no benefit or drawback to a 4-day instruction as long as the class time stays the same. I would say the benefit is a hiring tool. We are bleeding teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers are burned out. They're tired of the BS with politics and book bans and all kinds of crap. They're tired of the pay, right? They want to be paid more. And I think this could be something that could entice them to stay or to come into the profession. That's something, just on that note, I do want to mention real quickly. If anybody that's watching or viewing this or listening to this knows of anyone about to become a teacher, reach out to me, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. I would love to talk to new teachers on why now you've decided to go into the teaching profession. We'll do this with a bunch of different types of careers. I've been thinking of new segments, but when you're talking about going into a profession that arguably is one of the most vilified and controversial positions to be in right now, with school closures, schools opening, what's being demanded of you, the politics, COVID, everything going on, what makes someone still say, yep, I want to be a teacher? And how do you make the decision between public or private? Those are a couple of the questions. So again, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. And you can be a new-ish teacher. It doesn't have to be like you're not a teacher at all. But reach out to me because I'd love to bring some people on to have this discussion, because everybody says it. Oh, you want to be a teacher? You must not do it for the pay. What are you doing it for? If you no longer have the support of parents, if you're getting vilified by politicians, what makes you still want to do it? And is it simply because of the kids? Because that's another thing. The horror stories I'm hearing from some teachers that I know about the behavior of kids, the behavior of parents, it has to be a tough job to do, no matter how many years you're doing it. And so to say, yeah, that's the profession I'm going to go into, I'd really love to pick some brains on what makes people want to do that. So again, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com is the email address. David writes in, I have a 4-day work week for 7 years now. I think it's not a great thing for kids. They need to go to school every day, like even the weekend. That begs a good question. At what point do we go, how about a 3-day school week? Right?
Yeah.
How about just a 1-day school week? Yeah, I don't know about every day. There is, I would say, the potential for learning loss. I mean, how long of a gap do you want between the end of school, the weekend, and the start of school again? I know with my daughter, she's in tutoring right now for math, because math, I struggled with it. It just really, really helps her out. I'm a bit nervous about the holiday break just because she's made so much progress. And, if you're not doing it every day, but the parent, I love this. Wait, is it? Celeste writes in, parents are the worst part of teaching.
My mom has said that the parents are always the hardest part. You know,
What's
you
the
have
hardest part? Is it just like, oh, Billy isn't as bad of a student as you say he is? What's the hard? What do
So-
parents do that's annoying?
everyone has a different idea about what should be done in the classroom, right? Too many
Okay,
cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Everyone has an idea about their kid, and sometimes people will not listen to a teacher's advice. You know,
Which makes no sense.
they're unable to see anything negative at all, even if it's sandwiched in the positive. They're unable to take any criticism about their child at all. You know, like, so your child needs to get to school on time. Oh, you're being too harsh. So
Right.
your child needs to, come to school with their backpack and their homework done, whatever. So there, I mean, whatever it is, there's always a parent that will complain about what you've said, the way you've done something. And so, yeah, I think my mom would agree that, and she has in the past said that parents are the hardest thing about teaching.
Yeah, Lori makes a good point. Some kids depend on school for food security.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that's the only real meal some of these kids meals, because some schools you get breakfast and lunch, right?
Well, yeah, but during COVID, they did the thing where they had the meals at school. If you
Mhm.
needed them, all you had to do
Yeah.
was pop over and grab
Yeah,
one.
it was free. You didn't have to pay any, and
Yeah.
which I loved because, well, I stopped making my kids lunch a long time ago. I was like, "You want lunch? Make something that you're going to eat," because I'm done seeing my groceries come back the same way I put them in there. So
Right.
you decided. So I started that a couple of years before COVID. I was like, make your own lunch,
So
and they're good
during
at it.
when we came back from, we still had COVID, but we came back from the hiatus,
Right.
you know, and so everyone was wearing masks in school, and there's still the COVID lunch is still being provided to this day. We would send a lunch for Jacob, and they would have all these sack lunches with all these things in them that were delicious. So he would eat his lunch
And then another lunch.
and then the sack lunch, and then he'd come home with this
Smart
bag
kid.
full of extra food, and I'm like, "What? How is this happening?" He's like, "Well, I really like what's in there." And like they put the sunflower seeds in there, and they
So
put
yeah,
the
it
fruit
says
roll-ups in there.
some good snacks in there.
So finally, I'm like, I felt bad because I thought it was for people in need, and they're like, "You know what? All the kids
No,
are
take
getting
it.
that."
Well,
Yeah.
also, I was hearing from a lot of school districts that they were throwing away the food because no one was picking it up, probably because
Yeah.
everyone was thinking like you were, oh, I have enough. I don't want to take it from somebody. They're like,
Right.
no, take the food. We have the food. It's provided.
So
Take
now
it,
Jacob
eat
is
it.
still eating the COVID food, so that's fine.
Well, there you go. I like that kid. I swear, he's so awesome. All right. Well, let's welcome to the show now another person that's really awesome, and it's the one and only Steve Moskowitz, our exclusive founding sponsor. And Steve, I mean, I think we're still blown away by some of the stories that you tell us of the phone calls and the money you get for people and the advice that you give people that call into your company. It's amazing what you can do.
That's why I so much like doing what I'm doing, because we really help regular, real people, small business people. And, giant corporations have an army of people like me. Small business, the owner is really working hard, working long, and they don't really need a full-time person like me. But they do need the services too. So the solution, what we've done is we said, well, okay, we have a suite of services that we offer, including HR services and tax services, accounting, planning, advice, all types of things. So basically, it's like you don't need a full-time HR department, but you do need some help. You don't need a full-time controller or accountant, but you need some help.
Yeah.
And so on. Not to mention doing the year-round tax planning. It really so helps. It can make a tremendous difference. It's like going to a medical doctor. You don't need him or her to stay with your house all day, but you do need them from time to time to say, hey, doc, this hurts or that hurts, or what can I do? Or is this okay? Or what advice do you have? And that's what we do, is we offer all kinds of services that small businesses need.
Yeah. And not only that, though, Steve, and I would be remiss if we don't mention it again. You put in the work. You and your team, you do the hard work. You do the investigation. You find people ways to keep their money, get the money that they're owed. And that's what differentiates you from these kind of fly-by-night, oh, I just popped up because ERC is a thing.
That's right. And we've been taking care of people for over 30 years.
Yeah.
That in of itself tells you something. And we're here for you. We want to help you, take care of you. And small business so needs this.
Absolutely. So give Steve a call. He'll have something to help you with. I mean, if you have any questions, he'll also explain it to you in a way that you are sure to understand. Give him a call, 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. That's MoskowitzzLLP.com. Thanks, Steve. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Yeah. 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzzLLP.com. Okay, so we are going to be talking to Tim Sika in just a few moments. I was listening to you on Mark. You did a fabulous job this week.
I'm no Nikki Medoro, but I try.
Oh, stop. But it's interesting. I love getting different people's takes on Avatar. So we'll get Tim's as well.
Okay.
I had my friend went to the premiere. I'm assuming at a movie theater, not like
that's
the
fancy.
Hollywood one, but she went to the premiere. She was texting me earlier, and it's so funny. I feel like maybe she didn't know that it was going to be long. I don't know, because she's like, it's long. I'm like, yeah, no crap. That's like the headline of the movie. She said it was okay. So I'm just wondering how many of you in the live chat really want to see it as we wait for Tim Sika to come on. And is it getting ridiculous with the length of these movies? Does the length of a movie make it even harder for a movie to be successful? What was the number you were telling me, Kim? How much money does Avatar need to make in order to be successful? It's like $1 billion or some insane number, isn't it?
Michael Snyder said earlier, it's like he heard $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but it's a tough sell for me.
My camera moved.
It's okay.
No,
It's a tough sell for me to sit my butt in a movie theater for 3 hours, because at some point I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. You can't have popcorn and soda. I'm going to have to eat. I mean, it's 3 hours, people.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. So have you included in this long ass movie breaks? That would be a smart move. If Avatar was like, if you're going to go pee right at this moment. That's not important.
My daughter was in Mary Poppins recently. This play was 2 hours and 45 minutes, pushing 3 hours. And I thought I was going to, listen, I love my daughter. The play was fabulous. All the kids that were in it were great. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, that's hard.
I'm like, that's too long to sit there and go like, and then imagine the little kids in the crowd. You're like, no.
Yeah,
But I understand there's some good parts to this movie. The last half of it, apparently really good. We'll see what Tim Sika has to say.
All right. So Kim's going to do some news. Yeah. And keep giving me your guys' reactions to it, because some people are very excited, right? Oh my God, Avatar, James Cameron, it's going to be fabulous. Other people are like, they're like me. There's no way in hell I'm sitting in a movie theater for 3 hours when I have to wait. And I could ask Tim this. I don't know if he knows yet, but what the typical amount of time is to wait before something's available for streaming. Because that's definitely how I want to watch a 3 hour long movie. All right. So Tim Sika's coming up again. Let us know in the chat if you're dying to watch it. We'll also talk about other movies that are going to be released either in the theater or on streaming. And I will squeeze in a question about that one film that's been making headlines that I couldn't make 10 minutes into. And Tim had quite a unique perspective on it. So I'll have him bring that to you guys as well. But first, some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Speaking of too long, this newscast is too long, but I just kept seeing these good stories. I'm putting them in. I'm like, this one, I'll put it in. And so my apologies. I can't help myself. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. 2 new CDC studies show the updated COVID booster shots are effective at keeping people out of the hospital. One study shows the updated shot is more than 80% effective at preventing hospitalizations in people 65 years older and up. And the other study found the booster to be at least 56% effective in preventing emergency room or urgent care visits and hospitalizations in people 18 or older compared to unvaccinated folks. Speaking of the vaccine, a new poll finds more than 1/3 of all parents oppose vaccine requirements for public schools. A Kaiser Family Foundation survey shows 35% of parents say it should be up to them to decide whether their kids get vaccinated for diseases like measles, mumps, and rubella. That is over a 10% jump from pre-pandemic polls. The White House blasting a new wave of Russian missile We'll say it again. The White House is blasting a new wave of Russian missile attacks on Ukraine's power plants. The National Security Council spokesman calling it an attempt to create fear and freeze the Ukrainian people during the winter. Veterans exposed to toxins are now able to apply for benefits under the new PACT Act. The law, signed by President Biden this summer, directs the VA to assume some respiratory illnesses and cancers are indeed linked to toxic burn pits used in Iraq and Afghanistan. President Biden visited a Delaware National Guard facility named after his late son and encouraged the veterans there to take advantage of the new healthcare opportunities for them. Oil flowing once again through the Keystone Pipeline after it was shut down due to a leak right near the Nebraska-Kansas border. It looks like a section of the pipeline remains closed as the investigation into that leak, which happened December 7th, continues. The operator of the pipeline, Canada-based TC Energy, says the affected segment remains safely isolated, and they say the repairs there are ongoing. California plans to slash emissions by 2045. That means, they say, oil use has to drop in California by 90%. State regulators just approved a plan to reduce the state's carbon dioxide emissions by 85% over the next 2 decades. This helps the state reach the desired carbon neutrality. But fuel makers say these policies hurt consumers. In the state's scoping plan, the regulator, the California Air Resources Board, says the plan would create 4 million jobs and allow the state to avoid $200 billion in pollution-related health expenditures. A pair of top Democrats urging President Biden run for a second term. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer both said so during a joint interview with CNN. Pelosi called Biden a person with great vision, and Schumer praised his job performance as excellent. Lettuce, not normally a high-end purchase, but in some Bay Area stores, it's starting to look that way. I put this story in for you, Nikki, because the price of lettuce is wild. Nationwide, the average cost for a head of lettuce is about $2.50.
Okay.
Right? At Piedmont Grocery in Oakland, the price tag is $10.99.
What? Why?
Draeger's Market in Los Altos selling the same thing for almost $10. Country Sun Natural Foods in Palo Alto, $5.99 for a head of lettuce. This time, the price hike can't be blamed on just supply chain issues or inflation. Salinas Valley, also known as the salad bowl of the world, is dealing with crop disease, impatiens necrotic spot virus, or INSV, INSV, they say that is what's causing a shortage in lettuce. Shoppers aren't the only ones affected. Restaurants like Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, Panera, and Chipotle have let customers know that some orders are not available because of the shortage of lettuce.
Is this a specific type of lettuce or all lettuce?
All it says is a head of lettuce, like a normal head of lettuce.
I mean,
that could be iceberg lettuce. It could be whatever.
Yeah.
Lettuce.
I mean, how much lettuce do I really eat? My Mexican pizza at Taco Bell doesn't have any lettuce on it. I do like lettuce on my tacos though, but I could live without it.
I like a nice salad.
I like a nice salad, but you know what? If I'm going to make, I'll give you guys a little recipe right here. If I'm going to make a salad, I make a spinach salad, and a cold one, not a cooked spinach. It's baby spinach. This is my friend's salad that I just drool over. Baby spinach, feta cheese. I kind of like the garlic and herb feta cheese, dried cranberries, sliced almonds. And then if you're a tomato eater, which I just put a few baby tomatoes sliced, and then with a balsamic vinaigrette. Oh my God. The best salad. And it has spinach in it. It's really, really good for you. Other than that, though, I probably like a Caesar salad or iceberg salad.
Yeah, I like the crunch of the iceberg lettuce.
Yeah, it has no nutritional value, is what they say, but whatever.
Okay, 2 more.
Okay, go ahead. 2 more.
The creator of the TV series Glee. Did you watch that? I loved that show.
No, I was never a Glee watcher.
So we have singers in my house, so we're all about Glee, right? The creator will receive a lifetime achievement honor at next month's Golden Globes. Ryan Murphy will be awarded the 4th ever Carol Burnett Award for his contributions to television. Murphy also created other hit series like American Horror Story.
Yes, I love him
and
for that. Yeah.
911. He created that as well.
Okay.
And lastly, also for you, the San Francisco 49ers are taking a break after winning 2 games over the last 5 days.
Yeah, baby. Go Niners.
The 49ers clinched the NFC Western Division with a 21-13 road win in Seattle last night. This comes after a dominating win over Tampa Bay last Sunday. San Francisco has won 7 games in a row.
Yeah,
now.
baby. Yeah.
They will next play December 24th when they host the Washington Commanders.
That's Chip Franklin's team, so we definitely have to spank them. But I just want to make it through with no injuries. I mean, although, like I played you that clip earlier from Kyle Brandt, he's like, I feel like we could win with the 4th string quarterback this season. Now, I'm not going to jinx it because, anything can happen any given Sunday. But I will say this. If we make it all the way, I mean, they should make a movie of us of this season because it's been insane. And it should be called The Season of No Ego because the amount of tamping down of the ego that needed to happen this season for the Niners is absolutely
How about
amazing.
the rotating quarterback door?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just from the rotating quarterbacks to, just being able to step in and play as a team and our deep. I can go on and on and on. But yes, go Niners. We're going to do it.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, call Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. He's also online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
There we go. Let's welcome to the show because it's Friday and we love talking movies. Tim Seco!
Hey!
Hi.
The shadow nose.
Yes. So Tim, I'm so loving having you. We need to
you.
get into, I don't know if you heard us talking about it a little bit before, but
Just
we're getting
a little bit. Yeah.
We're getting into the length of Avatar. Now, first off, my first question is, have you seen it?
I have. Yes, I have.
So you sat through the whole thing. How many times did you go to the bathroom? I need to know.
Jeez. Okay. To be honest, once.
Okay. And did you know which part you needed to go? Can you let us know if we're going to watch it, what part of the movie or how far into the movie we should go to the bathroom?
Well, mine was about 2 hours, and I kind of instinctively. I mean, I usually take care of myself before I go to sit through a long movie like that without intermission. But I didn't for whatever reason. But I kind of instinctively know when I can leave, so I don't really miss anything. Like I could see where they're. So I was about, I would say, at the 2 hour mark.
Okay.
And I thought,
okay.
Yeah, and I probably could have held it, but I thought, no, I know what this part is about, so I can. And again, I'm in and out in less than a minute. So
yes, exactly. I'm pretty quick too. Now, Avatar. Okay, we're gonna get into it. But my first question is: do people need to watch or rewatch the original Avatar to understand what's going on in this one?
I don't think so. I think it helped. Well, I don't know. No, I think it helps because you do get that. You get that kind of world building.
Right.
But this one, it's really interesting about this one. I think it outdoes the original in just about every way. I mean, it's bigger.
Oh, wow.
It's more spectacular. The technology is more advanced. And of course, it's longer by a whole half an hour. This one's 192 minutes. And I think the original was 162.
Ugh.
But it outdoes the original in all these ways, except the story, which for me, the first one, was the only drawback. The Avatar films are strange that way for me. And that the story for especially and even for the first Avatar, now with this one, The Way of the Water, the story seems to always take a backseat to the technology, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and so it's hard to. I mean, do you remember? Have you seen Avatar, Nikki?
I saw the original once.
What'd you think?
I think I liked it, but I watched it once. I mean, if you pressed me, I probably couldn't really even give you the plot line for it.
Yeah. And you know what? That's very, very common. It's I saw it too. I came out 13 years ago, but I saw it, and I remember even shortly after I saw it, I couldn't remember a whole lot of it. And that's what this one is that's where this one is similar, that it's the story is okay, all right, I can you can follow it. I was never bored for a second. I mean,
Okay, that's
You
saying a
know,
lot.
no, yeah. It was I mean, it was just spectacular. The underwater photography was literally, I mean, it was breathtaking, indescribably beautiful. You got lost and felt as if you were under the water with these characters, these motion capture characters. That can get a little tiresome too, watching 3 hours and 15 minutes of motion capture on screen. But it's so spectacular and so well done. And you know, it's a critic-proof movie. Nothing I say is going to keep people away from it. And I think if people saw the first one and liked it, I think they'll probably like this one even better, because Cameron, he outdoes himself. I don't know how this guy does it, but he knows how to bring in the crowds. I mean, he's cracked some code that I can't figure out. But you know, if you like the first Avatar, and see this one if you can in theaters in IMAX and 3D. And my experience was in seeing it in IMAX and 3D, which is probably the best way to see it. So,
Okay. Yeah, my friend saw it last night. She went to one of these early movie premiere thingies, and she saw it in 3D, but she actually felt differently than you. She's like, it was a bit much for me to sit there for 3 hours watching 3D.
Well, you know, you can make an argument that it's all sensory overload, sensory bombardment. I mean, the last hour, for one, is all action. It's shoot 'em up sequences with these semi-automatic weaponry being fired all over the place, and spears and arrows being like hurled at people. And like I said, while I was never bored, because you know it's long.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you get bang for your buck, right? Anyway, while I was never bored at the 2-hour point, and I did look at my watches. That's when I went to the bathroom. I thought, God, how am I going to get through another hour and 15 minutes of this? And not because it was boring. It just was. It was a lot of movie. I mean, it's an event. It's really more of an event than a movie, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, so I'm just gonna be honest. I'm probably gonna watch it at home, so I might not get the 3D and I might not get the big screen, but I will get my bathroom, and that's a plus for me.
You'll have access to a very important part.
Exactly.
Of, the whole experience. I know. Yeah. Well, fortunately for me, the bathroom was literally like 2 steps away from the IMAX theater I saw it in, so it was great. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about other things to watch if people are not interested in the Avatar. There's a Tom Hanks movie, A Man Called Otto.
Yeah, and this movie, it's interesting. It's a movie that you're going to think I'm crazy. It's a movie that deals with death, but in a light and amusing and in the end, a very moving way. It's called A Man Called Otto. It's the kind of movie I tend to rail on about, you know, like manipulative, totally subtle about grabbing you and practically strangling you by the heartstrings. But I bought this movie. In fact, this one arguably had more genuine human emotion and life wisdom than any of the other movies we're going to talk about today. Tom Hanks stars as the titular Otto of the title. I mean, can Tom Hanks get any more likable than he already is as a screenwriter?
I love him.
Well, if you love Tom Hanks, I think that's one of the reasons this movie works. So what is it about? Without giving too much away, he plays this man close to retirement age, kind of cranky, you know, does not suffer fools gladly, but who for a variety of reasons is unable to find any more meaning in his life. So he keeps trying to kill himself. And that's all I'll say about the plot. But what I will say about the movie is that I wholeheartedly loved it. This is the movie I would recommend as the holiday movie to watch. It reminds you, well, it certainly reminded me of everything that is really important in life and living. And it's a weepy, and I resist weepies like the plague.
I love weepy movies. I love crying. I love it.
Okay. Well, this one had me blubbering, and I'm admitting that for the first time in public to you. And if you love weepy movies, honestly, God, you got to see this. It warmed my heart, this movie. It got to me in a very real way, and it was all calculated and designed to, you know, but who cares? I mean, once you got past that and got into the characters, because the characters were so interesting, you cared about all of them. The life wisdom in this movie as portrayed was just unassailable. And all of it is anchored by a superb performance by one of our greatest film actors. So Everybody listening to the Nikki Medoro
thumbs
Show,
up.
go
There you
see
go.
A Man Called Otto. Just go see it. You'll thank me. You'll forgive me for saying anything you vehemently disagreed with on me in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, now I see here it doesn't come out till January, so we might not be able to watch it for the holidays. So,
Oh, really? Okay. So see, I can't keep track of this. My information says December 21st, but maybe.
Hopefully you're right. Well, I was looking it up to see if it was available this weekend, and the earliest, at least around me, is January 5th. So
Okay, well, it's possible, this being a Sony release, that it's just New York and LA, and then it'll roll out. That's possible
lucky
too.
people, yeah.
They
Okay.
change these things like every day on us. These
I
release
know.
dates.
Those
Yeah.
freaking people.
What
All
are you
right,
gonna
let's
do?
go to women talking. It's I have never heard of this, but
Yeah.
never
This
heard
is
of it.
It's
an
like you and
interesting-
me, Nikki.
Yeah, women
talking.
talking.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. Well, I don't know.
Well.
well, maybe. I mean, this is an interesting movie. It's made by and for women, although men and boys should really see it. It's based on this book, which sounds a lot better than the movie adaptation of it. It's the story of this group of women who belong to this unspecified but isolated religious colony who gathered together in a secret meeting in a hayloft to discuss their options after learning that they'd been repeatedly drugged and raped by the men in their colony. And the options, very heavy. And the options these women entertain are: do they stay and fight the situation, or do they leave the colony, which would mean abandoning their religion? And I'll just get to it. I found this material really important and worthwhile, and of course, worth deeply considering at any time, but more deserving of a better treatment and than it got here, and one in which was more in service to the movie's themes, because it's about, it's about out of control patriarchy and abuse of women and all that. So the material is important, but I found the presentation of it irritating. I mean, the directing style, the acting style, and the filming style was more like that of a play rather than a movie. And for me, this material didn't work as a movie. But the script, the cinematic style this movie employed to tell the story was always, for me, in conflict with material. It kept getting in the way. And I kept going, why are they talking so funny? Why are they moving like, this is some kind of stylized play from the 16th or 17th century? And it kept announcing itself. And so all the stuff that you really want to sink in came across as preachy, and its messaging was way too on the nose. I don't know. It might just be me. It sounds like I'm dissing the movie. I'm dissing the style. I'm dissing the adaptation. I'm dissing the direction. But to contradict myself, I do think the movie most definitely should be seen for its content alone. I mean, the cast: Frances McDormand, Mara Rooney, Jessie Buckley, Claire Foy, Ben Wishaw's in this. There's one man in the cast. I just wish it were a better adaptation.
Okay.
That's all. But
all right.
It's for the material alone, it's worthwhile. And one good thing is it made me really intrigued about the book. I did some research on the book that it was based on, and the book sounds a hell of a lot better than this movie adaptation.
Usually is, right?
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, I saw the next movie. I just saw the trailer for this, and I was like, oh, that's right, I wanted to see this. And I'm hoping that it's good. And it's Babylon. I mean, there's so many people in this movie. I'm hoping it's good.
Well, how does one even begin to talk about this movie? Well, yeah. Do I give myself? Yeah, I play my hand too quick. Okay, this movie. Let me say what it's based on movie history of early Hollywood, the silence, and then the industry's transition to sound. The idea came from the director Damien Chazelle, who won an Oscar for La La Land. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
The idea, I didn't like that either. The idea for this movie sprang from his research about early Hollywood, and he noted that alongside early Hollywood and the development of the movies, there appeared to be this rash of scandals that accompanied it by the people who were in the industry, like actors and executives and producers, some kind of sex scandal, or there's a bunch of these things. So this story of Babylon chronicles the rise and fall of a number of characters during this time period. An aspiring actress that Margot Robbie plays, she's she's like a goddess, this
Oh
woman.
yeah, I love her.
She's amazing. She's fearless as an actress. What's one of the other characters? This aspiring Mexican-American film executive, played by Diego Calva. He's new on the scene, and a popular silent film star known for his flamboyant and what one might term excessive parties. And he's played by Brad Pitt. Pitt is great, just great.
Good.
So another long movie, 3 hours and 8 minutes.
What the hell? I mean, come on,
know.
people. I should just.
Yeah, well, and it's sprawling and excessive and debaucherous, and
that's what
I
I
think
like
it's
about it.
it's a mess. It's a mess. I don't know who they made this movie for or who the audience is. You would think for like maybe film fans, like diehard film fans or historians or critics, because all the history here, I'm really familiar with it, but all the history in this movie has been done better in much better movies. This is just this like off the rails nuts. I mean, it's nuts. I don't know what even else to say about it. I mean, there's a handful of brilliant sequences in it, but for as many of those that there are a lot of ridiculous sequences too. But it's worth seeing for the performances. I mean,
well, there you go.
Margot
I mean, yeah,
Robbie,
Brad Pitt, all of them.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people to put in a movie. I might have to give it a shot, but I'm not going to the movies and sitting in a 3-hour picture.
Well, the point of it is it just left me scratching my head, but that's me. I'm not alone in that assessment either.
We have a question from a viewer, Tim. I don't know if we know the name. What will Quentin? I'm assuming Quentin Tarantino's next or last movie be? He said he's only going to make one more movie and then he's done, right?
Oh yeah, I think he's just. I have no idea. I think he's just trying to
get attention.
Get some publicity for himself. Yeah, because he's not finished yet, and I know he'll probably make one more movie and then he'll probably write a lot of books and stuff.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. I have to get into this in the last couple of minutes we have. Now, I emailed you, and I love the fact that you got back to me on this last Friday. I'm sitting in front of my television, and I was reading this article about this film. Now, apparently been made a while ago. Jean Delman, I don't know, has a long, I think, French name.
Jean Delman, yeah.
So I email you, and I go, I'm reading this headline that the headline that I originally read said, I wish I could rewatch this movie with new eyes. Like I'd never seen it before. So I was intrigued and I put the damn movie on. I made 10 minutes in and this movie, at least in the 10 minutes I watched, I think one or maybe one sentence was said, and it's just following this woman around her apartment. I can't get into it. Did you watch this film?
Well,
and why do you think it's getting headlines right now?
God. Well, I have tried to watch this movie 3 times.
Okay.
But I could never get past like the 15, 20 minute mark. So
he made it more into it than you did. That's good.
I know. I just couldn't do it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, to be fair to Chantal Akerman, who's the Belgian film director who did this movie, most of her movies I've tried to watch. I don't think I've ever sat through one of her movies totally because I think, and again, for me, being a critic, I look at myself as being at fault. Like it's like I'm unable to, for whatever reason, to get into her sensibility. I really can't have an opinion on her films because I've never seen them all the way through. But
that says something, Tim. That says something.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you asked me why I think. Oh, I just have a feeling. I think critics are trying to be a little more sensitive to the times, and I think, I do know that this Jean Dillman film, is considered a very strongly feminist movie, and there's critics who think it needs a spotlight on because it's really, really great and. It's going to get me. I mean, one of these days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 12 hours of sleep. I'm going to get a pot of coffee and I'm going to sit down and force myself to watch Jean Dillman. And then I can talk about it.
Okay.
I think people are trying to be sensitive. And so it's terrible to say this, but I just think because it could also be because the makeup of the Sight and Sound committee has changed. It probably has changed. I had also heard that this year the editors asked the people that were voting to fill out a form profiling their race and gender, and page.
Right.
So, and there were all these different categories on the form listed for gender. So there were some critics who tried to kind of get past that by, I don't know how the forms are, and I don't know exactly how, if they have a point system or how they come to the conclusions that they come to. But one critic that I know personally said he deliberately tried to add a lot of word count to the comment section, because he said he wanted to like it to be about his choices that had to do with being a reflection of his personal aesthetic and not his profile. He was kind of insulted by that he was profiled, you know.
Right. Yeah. You don't want it to be about that.
No, I mean, and yet you do want to have more voices included.
Of course.
But this has been a great year for female directors. I mean, I've lost count of how many movies I've reviewed that have been written and or directed by female directors. So, things are changing, and it's good. It's good.
And that's a good thing. Real quickly, I thought we talked about this, but maybe we didn't. Violent Night. Violent Night. It's that Santa movie with the guy from Stranger Things. David Harbour. Right?
Oh wow! You're teaching me here. Violent Nights. First time I'm hearing.
Okay, well, good. Tim doesn't know, but I've heard great things about it. It's a Christmas movie that's like Die Hard meets Home Alone. It is.
Violent. Oh right. Oh yeah, I saw some of that on my feed. Yeah. The other one is that one about the killer. What's the one? The cocaine bear. That's the one.
Oh, I'm waiting for that. I'm there. Yeah. I'm there.
Oh, totally. Doesn't that look like a hoot?
I mean, it's built into the title that you're just going to have to watch this. Well, I always appreciate you coming on, Tim. We'll get you back on
Nikki.
next week. Watch all kinds of movies. Actually, next Friday, there won't be a live show because I'm off for the holidays, but you have a very Merry Christmas.
Oh,
Happy
you too,
Hanukkah,
Nikki.
everything.
Thank you.
We'll talk again soon. Thanks,
Okay,
Tim.
great. Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
Tim.
Bye. Yeah. So those are his. So let's go over it real quickly before we end the show. Avatar. You should see it in the theater, but I guess wear an adult diaper. I'm not going to do it. Kim, are you going to watch that movie? Do you have any desire whatsoever?
I probably will.
In the theater?
Oh, I'll wait till it comes out at home.
Okay. Yeah, we're
I'm not
talking about it in
going
the theater.
But it's interesting. I don't mind sitting in my living room watching 3 hours of a TV show.
Absolutely not.
I'll
of
just
course
click
not.
next, click next, click next.
And I can go to the bathroom. I
Why
can
would I
get
mind
snacks.
3 hours of a movie? I'm okay with that as long as I'm not at the theater.
Exactly.
Right?
All right. Yeah. Tim also gave kind of a heads up, or thumbs up for A Man of Auto. Women Talking. Good storyline, but he didn't like the way it was presented, and Babylon was a mess, according to the one and only Tim Sika. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will be back on Monday again. Please click the thumbs up before we end the show. It really helps us out. If you would like to buy some of the gorgeous merchandise that is happening right here, we have a tote bag, t-shirts, a mug. Go to thenikkimedoroshop.com. It's also linked to our website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, where also there are links to the YouTube that you can share with your family and your friends. We always really appreciate all the support from our viewers and our listeners. So everybody have a fabulous weekend, and we'll talk on Monday.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.